Okay. Well, hello everybody, and you're all very welcome to our Arts and Languages webinar. We'll be starting this session shortly. We're just waiting for all our participants to be admitted from the waiting room. So if you can just bear with us for another minute or so while we just carry out that little bit of housekeeping. Okay. Okay, I think we're going to get started. So, good afternoon, everybody, and you're very welcome to our Arts and Languages webinar. My name is Suzanne Golden, and I'm the Flexible Programme Development Officer here in the University of Galway. So this is the third in a series of information webinars that the Centre for Adult Learning and Professional Development is running throughout the month of July. So today's webinar is being recorded, and anybody who has registered will receive an email with a link to the recording over the coming days. For those of you that are watching live, a very warm welcome to you. And if you're watching the recording, well, of this webinar, then I hope that you find it very informative. Okay, So the running order for the webinar today is as follows. First of all, we'll do a quick introduction to our panelists. We'll have an overview of the courses that are currently open for applications. Then we'll just touch briefly on micro-credentials and recognition of prior learning. And then really we'll move into probably the most interesting part of our webinar, which is our question and answer session with our panel members. Okay, so I'm very delighted to introduce our panel members to you today. We'll have Dr. Ornaith Rodgers, who's a lecturer in the discipline of French at the School of Languages, Literature and Culture. We also have Dr. Sadhbh Baxter, who's a lecturer in the discipline of Earth and Ocean Sciences, which is based in the School of Natural Sciences. I'm also delighted to have two students with us. We have Emma Donnelly, who's a student from our Diploma in Earth and Ocean Sciences. And we also have Mairead McKeon, who's a student with us from the Diploma in Italian. So I'm going to give you a very brief overview of a number of courses that are currently open for applications, and I've categorized them into three distinct groups. So first of all, we have a number of language courses that are currently open for applications. We also have some courses that we classify under our humanities, sciences and social sciences category. And we also have some courses in Irish, which are also open for applications. So I just wanted to give you a visual here, and this is a diagram representing the Irish National Qualifications Framework. It represents the levels of learning in the Irish education system. So you can see that the courses that we'll be talking about are sitting here at the higher levels of this national framework of qualifications, sitting at levels 7 and 8. Okay, so without further ado, we'll plough on and we'll just touch briefly on some of the courses that are actually open at the moment. So the first one I have listed here is our Diploma in French. Our Diploma in French is a 2-year part-time course that aims to enable students with an interest in French to acquire a high level of written and oral communication skills. Students will also study major cultural issues in the contemporary French-speaking world. As the course progresses, students should be able to converse on and comprehend a variety of topics and situations. This knowledge of French also has an added benefit of perhaps enhancing employment opportunities, either both in Ireland or abroad. So this programme has 6 modules in total, and students will undertake 3 modules per academic year. Now, I forgot to say at the start, The full and further details on all of the courses I'm mentioning here today will be available on the course webpage. So you can look at that for more detailed information about these programs that I'm just referring to very briefly this afternoon. So the second program that I want to make reference to is our diploma in Italian. So we actually have three different varieties of the diploma in Italian, but all of them are 2-year courses, and each of them take a collaborative, communicative approach, encouraging lots of online interaction and in-person interaction for the classroom-based class. All programs will concentrate on the 4 main language skills of listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And the courses are designed to give people enhanced language skills, whether that's for personal, travel, or professional purposes. And all of the 3 diploma programs have 6 modules in total. Students again will do 3 modules per academic year. So we have 3 different categories of the diploma in Italian. We have a beginners category that is a fully online program. We have a beginners category that has a classroom-based teaching, and we also have an intermediate version of this program. Okay, moving on then, I just want to reference some of our diplomas in scientific studies that are open for applications at the moment. So the first of these is our diploma in gemology. So again, this is a 2-year course that provides an introduction to the science of gemology for people with a general interest in gemstones, as well as those working in the jewellery or related trades. The programme aims to provide students with a broad introduction to the study of gemstones. It teaches a range of laboratory-based techniques used to identify gemstones and provides hands-on experience in identification protocols using a comprehensive collection of gemstones. So there's an element of in-class practical work that takes place with this particular programme. As with our language diplomas, the programme has 6 modules in total, and students will undertake 3 modules in each academic year. And also just to note that some of the modules in the diploma in gemology are also available as micro-credentials. And I'll come back and just mention micro-credentials later in the presentation. So the next programme I want to refer to then is our Diploma in Earth and Ocean Sciences. So again, another 2-year course which provides students with a broad introduction to the study of the Earth's solid geology and its coastal ocean. It offers hands-on practical experience of the techniques employed within the fields of geology, oceanography, and Earth observation. This course will appeal to those with an interest in our natural environment and the outdoors, and it may be professionally beneficial for geography teachers, environmental scientists, engineers, and archaeologists. Again, 6 modules in total, 3 per academic year. So the next programme I want to make reference to then is the Diploma in Irish Studies. Now this is a fully online programme and it's interdisciplinary in nature. It provides an introduction to Irish studies and it was developed by the Centre for Irish Studies at the University of Galway. It's a 2-year fully online diploma course and it provides an introduction to Irish life and culture through a number of disciplines. This course in particular will appeal to those who are interested in Ireland's past and culture, including those that are employed perhaps in the tourism industry. So as with all of our diploma programmes we're mentioning here today, students undertake 6 modules, 3 of those modules per academic year. So this programme follows that same format. Now, the next programme I want to refer to is our Bachelor of Arts in Social Care. Now, this is a 4-year part-time programme which aims to provide students with professional education and training in the principles and practice of social care. As I mentioned, it's a 4-year programme leading to the qualification of an Honours Bachelor of Arts in Social Care, and that's a fully, it's a level 8 major award sitting on the National Framework of Qualifications. In addition, this qualification is approved by CORU, the Health and Social Care Regulator, which is obviously really important for working in that particular sector of social care. Now, there's 2 Irish courses that are currently open for applications at the moment. The first is a Diploma in Irish, and it has a number of different levels, so full details on each of those levels is available on the course webpage. And the second is the Diploma Arts. Again, that's a 2-year part-time program, and that program is at level 8. So the entry criteria may be slightly different. So we advise learners to look very carefully at the entry criteria for that particular program. Now, at the start, I mentioned and made a reference to micro-credentials. And some of you may have seen that micro-credentials are, probably circulating more, and there's more reference to these in social media and so forth over the last year or so. And essentially, micro-credentials are short accredited courses. They provide learning opportunities which offer highly flexible, bite-sized and accessible ways of upskilling and reskilling. They're designed to meet the demands of learners, enterprise and organisations. And University of Galway currently has over 65 micro-credentials on offer. Many of these are, we reference business and management, but they're actually in fact across a wide range of disciplines. So full information about all the micro-credentials, including how they're delivered, how long they take, and what in fact the course content is and the learning outcomes, is available from our micro-credentials website. A number of the micro-credentials sit on larger programs of study. So there's often a progression route into a larger program for those that may undertake a micro-credential. So definitely something worth looking at if you're interested in, I suppose, taking up something that maybe is a new area for you, or you're looking to expand your skill set. And the next point I want to make reference to then is recognition of prior learning. Again, we're seeing an increased interest from learners in this whole field, but often people are still unsure as to what it actually is. So recognition of prior learning is a process by which previous learning is formally recognised by the University of Galway. Through the RPL process, prior learning is identified, it's assessed, and it's recognised by the university in relation to the courses of study that it offers. Prior learning is learning that may have been acquired through previous formal qualifications, but it may also have been acquired through previous work experience or work-based training that a learner may have undertaken. And the key things that RPL can be used for is that it can enable learners to gain entry to a course of study, perhaps where they don't meet the standard entry criteria. It can enable learners to get advanced entry onto a program of study, so perhaps gaining entry into year 2 of a program, or indeed even into year 3. And potentially RPL might also enable learners to be exempted from one or more modules on a course. So anybody who wants to find out more information about RPL can contact actually myself on our generic email address, rpl@universityofgalway.ie, and we're happy to chat to you about the whole process and what's involved in more detail. A number of the programs that I've mentioned here today have a variety of sources of funding. Some of the programs are eligible for SUSI funding. That's a government funding for undergraduate programs of study. Some of the micro-credentials have a learner subsidy available. Some of our programs also have access to SkillNet funding. And the final category I just want to make reference to is our Adult Learning Tuition Scholarship. So for people who are in receipt of a social welfare protection payment, that might enable an individual to access our Adult Learning Scholarship. So without further ado, thank you for your attention for that part of our webinar. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and then we're going to get our panelists, so to speak, up on the stage, and we'll start that part of our session. So let me just stop sharing, and hopefully then we'll see all of our presenters. And I see Orna has managed to get in. I know we had a difficulty, Orna, so apologies for any complications we might have had there. So I think I'm going to start now with the panel question and answer session. And Sadhbh, I'm going to come to you first of all. So if you'd like to turn on your audio, and then you'll be able to respond to us. So you're a lecturer in the discipline of Earth and Ocean Sciences, Sadhbh, and you've been teaching in that area for a long number of years, and you've been teaching on our Diploma in Earth and Ocean Sciences too. So maybe I might ask you, can you tell us how modules on your particular course are taught, and what type of learning experience learners can expect?
Okay, so all the modules are delivered in a blended learning format, which means a mixture of online material and in-person workshops and field trips, which are sort of an integral part, I think, of Earth and Ocean Science learning. And the way I aim it, so with three modules per year, academic year, they're all eight weeks long. And we aim for basically 2 days of workshops or field trips for each module. And that means that we have a weekend in the first course of the year, first module of the year, followed by 2 Saturdays either side of Christmas, and then another weekend in the final module. And then during the week, I provide the learning material. The technical term is it's asynchronous, so the material is recorded and provided to students to do in their own time. But I also schedule a Zoom meeting on a weekly basis, and that's something we've arranged with everybody in the class to sort of make it the best time for everybody. So I'm fairly flexible with that and meet up for maybe an hour. And it could be just a bit of a chat about something that's in the news and relating to the course. It could be going over an assignment that is maybe causing a few people to doubt what they're doing or something like that. And I can just go through that sort of thing with them. So that's I guess the synchronous online part where yes, it is scheduled. I do record them as well, so they are available for viewing. But obviously, for the live questions and answers, there's a chance every week, usually. But if something else turns up, if there's a talk that is going online and interesting, I'll say, here, we're not going to do this week. I'm going to say to you, listen to this talk that's being broadcast from Cork or something like that instead. So that's the way we do it. And the other thing actually that has worked, I feel well over the last couple of years, and Emma, who's a previous student, might might speak on this, is that I set up a WhatsApp group. Now, I did ask everybody if they were happy with it, and it was only if everybody was happy to be in a WhatsApp group that I did it. Um, so that allows for a bit of chat between students and myself during the course as well. That's a little bit less formal, and I think it has worked well this year, to get the class, get a feeling of togetherness for the class as well. So
Yeah,
that's
that's all really
that
interesting,
enough.
and I think
Yeah.
yeah, no, and I think you really, I suppose, demonstrate how dynamic the program is in terms of the interaction there is with learners, and that kind of sense of a community of learning that is generated as a result of the activities that you've described there. Okay, great. So I'm going to come on to you, Emma, next, and it's great to have you with us today. So you've actually just recently completed the Diploma in Earth and Ocean Sciences, so you're really well placed to follow on from what Sadhbh has discussed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you, why did you choose that particular course? And what's your learning experience been like? So the flip side of what Sadhbh has just described there, if you could just maybe chat to us a little bit about that, it'd be great.
Sure, yeah. Well, it was something I was always interested in. I had kind of dabbled a little bit in my own undergraduate degree kind of 20 years ago, and was looking at a way maybe to get back into it. And it's just University of Galway would be kind of known as the place to go to study Earth and Ocean Sciences in Ireland. And the opportunity then to be able to do it in the blended learning way and see, can I study again after such a long break away? Um, and it's just, yeah, the opportunity that it gave, and the structure works really well as a student. I mean, as I was saying, she's available for us so much, but everything's available in your own time as well. So you can have as much interaction as you want or as little as you want, if you want to be very independent. But it really appealed to me to have the options of the field trips and the workshops, because you really get to get hands on with it. You get to meet the other people on your course. You get to meet Sadhbh in person. So it just works very well in that format.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you really described the benefits of a flexible program,
Yeah.
that control and choice it gives individuals over when and how they do their learning. And I think you've just really described that really well. So, Orna, I'm going to come to you next, and hopefully, yeah, I can see that you're there, so that's great. So you're a lecturer in the School of Languages, Literatures and Culture, and you're involved with our diploma in French. So, Orna, maybe I might ask you, can you tell us how those language modules are taught and what learners can expect from a module that is delivered in a fully online mode, which is what's done on that particular program?
Perfect. And first of all, apologies. It's one of those days for me. My video is not behaving itself for me, so I'm afraid you'll have to hear just to focus on the audio.
That's fine, no problem, Orna. Thank you.
We have a wonderful online diploma in French, which is taught by two native speakers, by Sylvie and Coraline. And they are absolutely fantastic. They've been teaching this for a long time. It's very well established. So if you're doing the diploma in French, you would be logging on as a first year on a Tuesday evening, and you'd be logging on at 6:30 p.m. from the comfort of your own home. And you would be logged on until 9:30 p.m. Now, obviously, there is a break in that time. It sounds like sometimes people hear it and they go, oh my goodness, 3 hours altogether, it's a long time. I promise you, you will not feel the time going, because we really vary the learning activities quite a lot. So really there's two things going on in the diploma in terms of your learning experience. First of all, you're working on your language skills, and it's very, very interactive. So you get to do lots of practicing your spoken French. And also, obviously, we look at the structures of the language. What we also try to do is to introduce students to kind of, I suppose, a lot of the kind of cultural issues in the contemporary French-speaking world. We also introduce you to French literature. So I suppose we want you not just to learn the language, but also to learn about all of the culture that's embedded in it. So there will be a mixture of kind of, I suppose, language-based activities where you participate and you'll speak and you'll join in. There'll be occasions where maybe you'll be listening, okay, maybe to a brief presentation of some kind of issue in contemporary francophone world. And so it's quite varied in terms of what you're doing over the course of those 3 hours. And it is very interactive. There's plenty of opportunity to ask questions. The groups tend to be quite small so that everybody has a good chance to participate.
That's great, Orna. That's a really good overview of what learners can expect to experience on the diploma in French. And I think it'll give really good insight for those that are wondering what it might be like. And Mairead, I'm going to follow up with you next, because you're a student who is actually engaged with some of our language programs. And in particular, the diploma in Italian, I think, is your speciality. So a question we often get from prospective learners, Mairead, is how much time they'll need to devote to a course. So maybe can you tell us how you might have approached that challenge, and how did you balance your professional, maybe and personal life with your academic commitments, and how any advice you can offer in that regard?
Grazie, Suzanne. Buongiorno a tutti. So I've just completed the beginners on campus diploma in Italian, loved it. And I really am campaigning for an on-campus intermediate course, Suzanne. The whole class have been asking for this. So I suppose, to answer your question, how do you balance? I wouldn't be the most dedicated student in the whole world. I do have two, well, they're big teenagers now. They're both in university, first and second year. So that's been very interesting, because, you understand now the challenges of a student. 3 of us in the house, great fun altogether. So I would have studied a lot in adult ed since I had the children, actually. So I've always said, bring your deadlines closer, keep up with your work. You're always working with this kind of idea of the sooner you do your homework to get to you, more productive you're going to be. So when I leave the class, I'm dying to get writing. So I have got, we go in on a Monday to the Italian beginners class in the Arts Millennium building from 6:30 to 9:30. I've heard, we've gone for dinners together. Everybody says the same thing. Nobody has found it hard to get out on a Monday evening and go to that class. It's just brilliant. Do it. It's fantastic. I loved it. Like French, the first part of the class would be quite structured into practical, the bit that I don't like the most, so grammar and, you know, all the practical written stuff. But we do get a great chance to talk around that while we're doing it, very applied. And the second part is the cultural section. So we find out about our lectures, we find out about Italy and food and what you like and what you like and the other one likes. And I just love Italy, and that's why I took the course. So really keeping on top of it hasn't been a problem. I would never put a deadline out. So I bring my deadlines close, get the homework done, you know, and if you keep on top of it, it's absolutely manageable. These are bite-sized courses. They're fantastic. They make it really suitable for an adult to learn, I think.
I think you've got some great tips there, Mairead, and I think I'll have to start taking the diploma in Italian myself. You're making it sound so great. But I think that idea of bringing deadlines forward is absolutely a really critical point. You know, that's tendency we have to kind of put our head in the sand and kind of say, oh, the deadline is, you know, not for another while yet, and then suddenly it's upon you. So, you know, that advice I think is very well, a point really well made. Okay, Sadhbh, I'm going to come to you next. So back to you with another question. We know that adult learners are juggling lots of commitments. And how flexible is your course schedule for somebody who has maybe full-time work or family responsibilities? How do you kind of recommend that students can interact with you to kind of manage that challenge?
Well, I suppose, and hearing Mairead talk about bringing deadlines forward and so on, I would be flexible with deadlines. I do give them because I want to, but if somebody gets in touch with me and says, look, you know, my kids have been sick for the last week or two, you know, I say that's life, and I'll accept that. That's not a problem. I've got time, but you do need to have it in by, you know, this date or whatever. Excuse me. I think I hope that the fact that the learning materials are there to do in your own time is useful, but I also I'm careful to have things rolling along all the time, because some people do get everything done that week, and you don't want to leave you don't want to leave some people without something to be getting on with either. So fairly flexible, and I did have some case, you know, I have had cases where somebody hasn't been able to come on a field trip, for example, or to come to one of the workshops. I was able to provide rock and mineral samples. I've kind of got one set from back in COVID days when we actually did everything online, and I made up sets of the rocks and minerals and sent them out to people. So I did have one set of those that I was able to send out to somebody and let them work through stuff on their own. It's not ideal, but it's better than not seeing it at all. And I use the things like field trips. I use Google Earth to do a virtual field trip as well. So with photographs, and I've got 3D models and stuff, so that if somebody does miss a field trip, they can see where we've been. They can look at detailed photographs of where we've been. They can look at models online that you can turn around and look at things from different angles. So try to make it as accessible as possible. And if somebody isn't able to do things, and sometimes, you know, I mean, I'm but half crocked myself at the minute. So if trying to do a field trip would be out of the question, and I just try to make it that it's there's always something there for somebody to do. And if the field trip is kind of deemed to be really important, then I might have an alternative exercise for them to do just to assess learning and so on that in that particular field, or that on that topic. So I'm possibly more flexible than adult ed would like me to be, but I want people to enjoy and to learn.
I think you've really described the fact that, you know, as an institution, we're here to try and support learners. We're here to try and encourage and facilitate learners to get from the starting point of their course through to the end. And you've really demonstrated that that's really what our intention is. It's to get and support learners to get to the end of the programme, to engage with the learning opportunities, and to feel that they're getting what we expect them to get out of a programme. So I think you've really articulated that really well. And Orna, I'm going to come to you next, because you know, even as we've discussed there with Sadhbh, we know it's not easy to come back to education. And so maybe you could just chat to us a little bit about the types of academic supports that are available for part-time students. So we know obviously they can interact with their lecturers, and you know there's other significant resources in the university, the library facilities and all that they offer. So maybe you could just maybe chat to us a little bit about that as well, Orna.
Absolutely. And first of all, just I suppose to echo what Sadhbh was saying, you know, we really do understand, you know, when adults come back into education, that they're very often balancing jobs, families, caring responsibilities. So just I suppose to reassure everybody that, you know, our job is to help and to support, and we do everything we can to help our students. In terms of supports available, I know when I was teaching the diploma, we used to often have students who might come back and say, you know, I haven't been done an academic piece of writing in about 40 years. And we would always reassure them that that is absolutely fine. That again, we do a lot of the support of that actually in class, in terms of even, you know, how to write an essay, how to put it together, how to insert references, how to use the library website. And the library are the most wonderful people you could ever meet. I said they are so helpful to all of our students. But what's wonderful, I think now, as opposed to kind of even 15, 20 years ago, any materials that any student needs for any piece of their studies in French, they're nearly always available online. You can actually access them without ever physically having to step into the library if you don't live in the Galway area. So there is a lot of support there. And I would always say to people, it doesn't matter if you haven't been in education for 5 years or 10 years or 30 years. I said, this is the point, I said, of what we do. And I would also say, you know, learning a language, and I know, and the other courses you mentioned, it can also be great fun. I know, as Mairead mentioned, there is work to be done, and I know sometimes the heart sinks when there's a deadline looming. But when you're within a nice community of learners and you have supportive lecturers who understand, I said, everybody's there to help you to get through. There's lots of support, and even within, you know, all of our students can avail of all of the supports across the university in terms of academic writing, or if there are any issues which might hinder their ability to acquire certain skills in that course, we have plenty of services available to help as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you made a very good point there in terms of the services offered by the university. So all students who are registered on any of the programs we're talking about here today, they are fully registered students of the University of Galway. And as such, they have access to all of the services that are offered to all of our full-time students. So and there's a real breadth of services available there, all with the intention of supporting learners to get through their studies and also to enjoy that experience and to get the most from it. So
Suzanne, sorry, if I can just put in one last thing, because it reminds me when I was teaching the diploma, my students used to get very excited about the prospect of flashing their student cards in shops to avail of certain discounts. So I'm not sure whether that was technically allowed or not, but I said those student cards were being produced absolutely everywhere. So I said, just to be filed away at the back of your minds as well. So
absolutely. Once you have a student card, you're entitled to use it in the same way as any other student who has one. So I fully support that. And great. Now, so Emma, I'm going to come back to you. And you know, I suppose looking at what we've just been talking about from the student perspective, what would you say has been the most challenging part of returning to education, and how did you manage that and deal with that?
I was hoping you were going to ask me the good part, and I was going to say the half-price Spotify, you know, with the student card. To be honest, to kind of echo Mairead as well, I think a lot of it is it's time management, really.
Okay.
It's kind of having a full-time job, having life outside of that as well, is kind of managing it so that you don't end up with suddenly going, oh my God, I have all of this to do. Because you start off with such great intentions, but something will happen one week and suddenly you've got 2 weeks of lectures or whatever to catch up with. So it's to just kind of take the time to maybe plan it out a little bit, to kind of say to yourself, right, well, this is the time I'm going to put aside for this, if possible. I mean, obviously, it always has to be flexible, but mainly the timing, I think, was the most challenging for me.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, you know, you've highlighted from having completed a program of study, you actually get to hone those time management skills, because suddenly, you know, you have no choice. But if you want to be successful in the program, you have to actually really be quite thoughtful about the way
Yeah.
that you do manage your time. Absolutely. Okay, Sadhbh, I have another question for you. Adult learners really enjoy the social aspect of being involved in a course of study. Can you maybe chat to us about the opportunities for peer interaction and networking with other adults that happens in your particular program of study?
Yeah, well, the funny thing that's happened, well, maybe not funny, but over the last number of years anyway, what I've seen are certain students then sort of meeting up well outside the class to go off on little field trips of their own and so on. And then with the WhatsApp, I'm getting, you know, photographs of two people out checking out, you know, with two students from Cork this year who didn't know each other before they started. You know, and then I was getting photographs, or we were all getting photographs from them saying, yeah, we're down checking out the sandstones and wherever, you know, or what are we looking at here? You know, we decided to go exploring. And that's been really, really nice. And then yeah, people send you know, I do with the WhatsApp, I say send, you know, if you're away on holidays, send photographs of what you're looking at, because geology's everywhere, right? So and you know, if people go to the Canaries or something, there's lots of geology there. That maybe people weren't really thinking about, you know, the volcanoes and so on, but you know, and then the next thing you're getting these photographs, going to find this on the beach, you know, am I looking at? And it's lovely to have that, or you know, and then maybe that's maybe just from my point of view, but I do think it the other people in the class enjoyed, and then I see a few more questions coming in, and yeah, it's just that, yeah, it was the same people heading off on field trips
Yeah.
together was
Okay.
the funny
Okay.
thing, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
outside of the class, outside of my suggestions, anything like that, or getting involved in other geological associations. So we've got a Galway Geological Association. There's one in Cork. There's one in Belfast. There's an Irish one, and getting involved in stuff there, you know. So I certainly got a sense this year. I keep saying that the year that's just finished that Emma was in, certainly where I had seemed to be fairly tight as a group. And the funniest bit then was one of the courses was taught by a colleague of mine who wasn't in the WhatsApp group, and I was seeing questions going up in the WhatsApp group going, question 6 that Rachel said. Has anybody been able to answer it yet? And how do you answer it? And there's help going on there. So I said I wouldn't say anything to Rachel about it, all right. But I think it was certainly very enjoyable for me. So I'm hoping they enjoyed it too. And going off for
Yeah.
lunch, you know, at workshops and field trips and stuff like that. It's a chance to sit down and have chat.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I think, and that's the real intangible benefit that learners get from being involved in programs of study, is that interaction, that opportunity to build up friendships and interests with like-minded people. You know, you're all on the same course, so obviously you're all interested in similar things. And Orna, I'll come to you, Orna, next, because I suppose, you know, adult learners undertaking flexible or part-time courses are usually very motivated and enthusiastic, as Sadhbh has just articulated there. So maybe can you tell us why you enjoy working with these types of learners?
I have to say, these adult learners have always been my favorite students, because they are usually our most highly motivated learners. And I find in French, they're there most of the time out of a love for the language, out of a love for maybe French culture and everything that goes with it, the food, the wine, the history, the art. So what you have already is you have people who are, you know, we have students there who are, I suppose, bound by a common interest and love of the French language and everything Francophone. And that's what makes it so enjoyable to teach as well, because I find you can kind of bring topics to adult learners that I may not necessarily bring to my undergraduate students. So I'd say, for example, the French political world is very colourful. There are lots of characters. There's always lots of drama. Everything is published, and just we follow everything and all of the big political scandals. And you can have a lot of fun looking at these things through a language as well. I also used to always say to my students, you know, it is a diploma in French. And I said on a Tuesday evening, if they felt it was appropriate, they should reward themselves with a glass of French wine and some French cheese at the end of the class, just to keep in the cultural mood. But what I suppose I've liked the most about this is there's always a certain energy. Whether you're in the classroom or in the online classroom, there's a certain energy in that space, which comes from the students who are happy to be there, who are really looking forward to learning, who share their experiences as well of maybe if they've been to France, if they've been to other Francophone countries, what they know. And they sometimes maybe talk about kind of, maybe we talk about kind of French films and movies, and we might agree that we'll all watch one before the following week, and we can have a chat about it. So for me, the most enjoyable part of teaching is the students, because these are our most motivated students a lot of the time, and who are there because they want to be there, and we want everybody to enjoy it and to engage with it, and to have a little bit of fun on top of having to do obviously the assess a little bit of assessment and exams. And I know Emma and Mairead, you talked really well about how you managed all of that and how important kind of time management and that is. And I think everybody finds a system, you know, people's systems may vary, but people find their own way of managing, I think, that side of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I fully agree with all of that. And okay, Emma, I'm going to come to you with one last question. As well as the learning acquired on a program of study, students also find that there's other benefits to participating in a university level program. So maybe can you tell us how your course has influenced maybe your personal confidence or your mindset in relation to education?
Well, I've always been a big supporter of education. In my own job, I advise people on how to get educated all the time. So for me, it was two things. One, it gave me the confidence for my own learning, you know, to go back, that I am still able to do it, that I can get out and do it. And I'm hoping to actually continue my education to a higher level next year. Now, having done this, I have the confidence, I think, to go and do it now. And that's what these courses give you, you know. You have a chance to do something before you take the big step, you know, because you can stay with your job, you can stay doing what you need to do, but you can tip in and get this. And you just meet amazing people along the way. And I think the confidence that you get from that it's invaluable, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I fully agree. And I think we see that all the time. We have students who come back again and again, and we can see them progressing through from diplomas to larger awards and on to postgraduate levels. So that confidence is obviously building as people engage with programs and come through them successfully. So absolutely. Okay, so we're nearly at the end of our session today. I'd like to thank everybody so much for all your time, for all your contributions. I think there's been some really valuable advice, really relevant points that we've had an opportunity to discuss. And hopefully those that are in attendance have found that useful, and anybody who is watching the webinar back at a later point, hopefully you've also found it useful. So without further ado, I think we're going to end our session, and we'd like to thank you all very much.